Hello and welcome back to this Tuesday on Crypt. My God, these markets. What the hell is going on? Well, we're starting to see some bodies rise to the top after that massive liquidation event on October 10th and the continued adoption of blockchain by traditional finance. Let's dive in. Right out of the gate, we're just being hit by all sorts of sadness in the crypto world. In general, people are becoming despondent, and that is as the prices continue to fall. We did touch into 100K territory, looking for a bounce with prices sort of sitting now at 101 and flirting. But when we look at the order books, I mean, they're really stacked quite tightly here with what looks to be pretty balanced demand on both the buy and the sell side. Now, the real question here is around the market makers. What happened when Binance had that horrible liquidation event on 10/10? And how many people simply lost funds that previously were used to support market prices? In a liquidation cascade, a lot of the people getting liquidated would be the market makers or the people that provide some cushioning on the price. And we do know from Wintermute that positions were closed very poorly, or even entirely liquidated in a way that does not buoy confidence. Now, the first body starts to float today. We see Stream Finance, who, quite frankly, I've never even heard of, but they published yesterday an external fund manager overseeing Stream funds disclosed the loss of approximately $93 million in Stream fund assets. In response, Stream is in the process of engaging with Keith Miller and Joseph Cutler of the law firm Perkins Coie LLP, a lead and comprehensive investigation into the unit. Perkins Coie, quite effing expensive, so they lost a lot of money, but still they clearly have some funds to go after this. Nonetheless, we are seeing this very clear statement. Yesterday, an external fund manager overseeing the funds lost the money. This is probably a knock-on effect of that 10/10 liquidation event. And the reality is the more capital that sits inside of centralized exchanges, the less we know what's going on. Why did Binance compensate users? Who else was wrapped up in all of this? What should we expect in relation to contagion and spreading? And well, in reality, this is why we want to move things onto the more transparent and independently verifiable DEX ecosystem. Now, in some more positive news, we do continue to see the traditional financial wild adoption and frothy exploration of blockchain and its technology. Here we have UBS completes tokenized fund transaction using Chainlink's DTA, a new era for on-chain finance. This is coming from Crypto News, but again, something very positive in these partnerships that are being made. We're excited to announce that UBS has successfully completed the world's first in production end-to-end tokenized fund workflow, leveraging the Chainlink digital transfer agent technical standard. Now, a transfer agent is a licensed registration in traditional finance that is used for transferring money. Obviously, pretty straightforward. We like to see UBS involved, and let's recall the more capital that comes on chain, the more capacity it has to interact with DeFi products, to interact with our speculative assets like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, so on and so forth. So I'll take this with a grain of salt, but we are moving in the right direction. Of course, we also see why MasterCard's $2 billion move into crypto could end banking hours as we know them. We are seeing the digitization, the internetization of finance. This is the protocolization, if we have to use another word, but this all sums up the fact that anyone that's in the business of moving money simply cannot ignore blockchain as the primary mechanism for the future of money in motion. And that's MasterCard's rumored $2 billion in crypto deals could bring 24/7 trading. And this talks about key takeaways that MasterCard's in talk to buy Zero Hash following, if you recall, bank in a push towards 24/7 stablecoin settlement. The deals could give MasterCard a turnkey on-chain payment stack, accelerating its move from pilot to production. Stablecoin-based settlement would let banks and merchants transact continuously, bypassing batch cutoffs and weekend delays. And then, of course, the article goes into, well, there's some operational compliance and liquidity challenges that may make the transition to 24/7 slowly. But what we can see is that it is happening, right? For years, we were talking about the chain throughput, the transactions per second. Do they contend with Visa? Can they actually compete with MasterCard? But now we're seeing the credit card agencies themselves, the movers of digital money, going out in a completely aggressive push to acquire and acquihire the talent to bring them on chain. So this is all very, very bullish. Now, just to provide some hopium and not make this all so dire, Bitcoin Archive comes out with this Standard Charter interview where he says that Bitcoin will hit 500,000 by 2028. If you want to watch this to get the full take and really absorb some of that hope straight into your veins, by all means, go into it. The long and the short of it are, ETFs are new. They've only been launched for a year. This means that portfolio allocation is going to be slow to catch up, and he believes that the longer these ETFs remain in existence, the more massive portfolio managers will say, hey, let's allocate a little bit more of our portfolio towards crypto, towards Bitcoin, towards Ethereum, and of course, towards Solana. This is how he sees sort of the ebb and the flow of professional money management, saying that the more these ETFs exist and continue to offer a decent product, well, there will be a natural flowing into these assets on the long tail, that as portfolio managers look to reallocate or rebalance those portfolios, ETFs and their lendiness will just increase the purchasing demand for Bitcoin. Not saying that this is a short-term play by any means, hence he has it by 2028. Of course, in other record news, we have Polymarket and Kalshi showing that there is product market fit in the prediction markets game. Obviously, Polymarket is crypto native. Kalshi is talking about building on Solana, but we'll see how their settlement works out in the end of the day. But we can see that rising sports speculation drives $7.4 billion in trades, but regulatory scrutiny grows amid crypto and gambling concerns. One thing to keep in mind, that $7.4 billion in sports trade is probably taking a bite out of crypto speculation. I mean, after the meme coin phase, after the collapse of 2022, a lot of people are not looking at crypto as a way to generate wealth, and it's kind of become a negative statement when you say the word out loud. But we can see that the products are sticking, that some of the really AAA examples are getting sticky and are proving out the thesis that this technology works. Now, to leave you with one positive and exciting and optimistic take, Sundar Pichai, the CEO of Microsoft, did come out with this article exploring a space-based scalable AI infrastructure system design, and I think this is very cool. They're talking about moving data centers into space and using solar, that direct pounding light coming from the sun, to capture and implement the power demand that is going behind data centers. A lot of people are viewing the negatives of data centers. They're looking at AI slop. They're not thinking about the fact that they're curing cancer, that they're unfolding protein levels, that they're discovering how the human genome works. And all of this is a massive power demand. And many, many articles are coming out, just like they did with Bitcoin and mining, saying, hey, this requires a lot of energy. But the reality is we only move forward as a species when there is a market-driven demand. And this demand for more energy is more than the fossil fuels can provide. So we are looking at a renaissance in energy generating technology, whether that be adding more nuclear, figuring out fission, putting data centers in space, or even putting new battery technology and energy generation capabilities at different points in the grid. Do these data centers have one on site? Is there a middle component? And where do we look at putting in more power? The reality, in my opinion, is that every utopian vision of science fiction required energy intensive technologies. And there's been no real reason, like the car hasn't changed that much in 100 years. Same with the grid and how the standard household consumes electricity. It's just basically been lights and television. But now we're moving into robotics. Now we're moving into appliances that have large battery stores. We're looking at the Tesla Powerwall, things like that, where we can decentralize the grid. And of course, AI, like Bitcoin before it, is demanding a ton of energy. And this is the right kind of boon that we need for an energy revolution. So I think this is pretty exciting. Obviously, seeing Microsoft talking about data centers in space is very expansive. For anyone following the space sector, there's a lot of energy going into bringing things into space right now. And I come at technology with an optimist lens. I hope that we can unlock a better future. I would like to see energy costs trend towards zero, and I would like to see greater use and applications of renewable energies and things of that nature. That being said, liquidations have been absolutely insane this week, people losing tons of money. So as always, don't overlever, stay safe, stay positive and optimistic. Give me a like and a follow, and I'll see you tomorrow.